What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Showdown Breakdown, Where My Turds At show, where we're taking a look at the Thursday Night Showdown between the Cardinals at the Seahawks. Cardinals, 3-point underdogs in this one. Interesting. Massive, highest of the year, 57.5 point game total. And it would not shock me, fellows, if that number went even higher by game time. This looks like a game of the year candidate. It's an island game. It's Thursday Night Football. And I've got two of the best in the business to break it down for us. Number one, we've got DFS North. Josh, what's happening, my man?
I'm ready. I'm excited. This is going to be a fun game. And I think that there's, especially on the DraftKings side, I think there's some interesting strategies that we can employ to maybe give us an edge. So I'm excited to chat about that tonight.
Hell yeah. And of course, joining us again is my man, 2x Million Maker winner, a guy so proficient at winning that he didn't even mention that he qualified for the DraftKings Fantasy Champion. That was like an afterthought compared to the $500,000 win a couple days before. It's like, yeah, I also am in the DraftKings Fantasy. No big deal. Bobbywow, what's up, my man?
Hey, what's up, Geek? Yeah, I'm excited just to get the taste out of my mouth of the Monday night game. Looking forward to that. Luckily, we've got a big comeback here on Thursday with a nice one.
The calls on Monday night were not bad in the sense of we faded Dalvin Cook as captain on DraftKings, which was the right call. We played a lot of Jefferson at captain, which was the right call. Just didn't expect that 2-point output from Nick Foles. But I think for you as a Bears fan, you probably happy that you could possibly move on from the Lakaja Foles experiment.
Never happy to see a guy get hurt, but I'm Trubisky till I die, so I'm excited about that. Hopefully he comes back.
I heard they brought in Deshaun Kaiser for a workout today, so maybe that's the future.
No, it's not.
God, no, please. Stop it, Josh.
There are some good quarterbacks coming out in the draft that to get excited for Browns fans. All right,
Jeez.
let's get into this, gentlemen. We've got a game that looks extremely exciting on paper. And, of course, we all want to play Kyler Murray. There's some injury situations. We all want to play Kyler. Going to play a little Russell Wilson. Want to get the quarterbacks. How do I get them? Can't afford them. Josh, I'm taking a look at your notes here. But you know what? Again, let's do a real quick breakdown of each team before we jump into the notes. So throw this up on screen. We'll talk about Arizona real quick, and we'll do this, all three of us, and then we'll get into each format, okay? So, obviously, Arizona, Kyler Murray is the man. He runs the football a ton. He doesn't need to throw that much to put up a monster score, as you can see here, 245 yards, 30 fantasy points, under 300 yards, 41, because he does it all with his legs. We love Kyler, okay? We've got that established. He's throwing primarily to Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins. Actually, let's bring up the matchups here so we can actually see this on screen. Andy Isabella mixes in a little bit, 3% target share. That's a turd. Dan Arnold, last week, 13% target share. Is that a turd?
He's won us showdown monies before.
He might even be on the showdown scroller. Can't remember.
He
might be on the Where My Turds At scroller. Kenyon Drake is back. Between him and Edmonds last week was a 50-50 market share. Not a whole lot to see there. Drake really just running the football. Edmonds a little bit more of a passing down role, but they threw to Drake once or twice last week. So, all right, yeah. Okay, the Dreezy. Don't love it, but contrarian. Christian Kirk, 19%. And, of course, DeAndre Hopkins dominates the target share most weeks with a 38%. Not much else going on here. Not too many turds. The biggest turd for me on the Arizona side is Larry Fitzgerald. He just hasn't done nothing. Bobbywow. When you're doing your contrarian approach, not contrarian, but your approach where it won't be Kyler Murray at the MVP or captain on fan draft, do you roll a Larry Fitzgerald line about over there? Like, or is it too much? It's too much.
With him, it might almost even be too much, just because he hasn't had any sort of fantasy relevant outing so far this season. He's getting older. His role is super important for the Cardinals. He's a key player on that team, but for DFS purposes, I don't know. It hasn't come out yet this year, at least.
It's a bridge too far. I think it's a bridge too far.
I think so too.
It just doesn't. I mean, there's no. If you're gonna play a cheap guy, like, you want the upside, right? You want the possibility of a 90, 100-yard game, and like, it fits his role in this offense. So, like, he plays a ton, but that's not there.
No, I agree. I don't think we need to go that far. As a matter of fact, I might like the kind of the gross turds from the Seattle side a little bit better here. I think we know what Arizona does with the football, and it's usually not feeding Larry Fitzgerald like a high volume to the point where he can actually break a slate open. So let's take a look at the Seahawks side of things. And of course, Russell, let Russ cook, the whole deal. He's had a great year this season, smashing, but again, very, very expensive and very difficult to use as your DraftKings captain and also field a quality lineup. So we're probably going to have to find help elsewhere. Tyler Lockett, 26%. Lockett and Metcalf, we kind of think of Metcalf as the better, the player or the safer bet. Metcalf has been more consistent, but Tyler Lockett absolutely destroyed this matchup the last time these two teams faced off. So I think we have to keep him strongly in mind for everything we're doing. That was his 50-point game against this team where DK Metcalf was completely locked down by Patrick Peterson, interestingly, for whatever that's worth. DK Metcalf as well. So those are the two big pass catchers. Lockett, not practicing today, but they're saying he's going to play. So we're going to assume he's just going to play, and we're just going to ignore this. Running back, we have some injury situations that we're not 100% clear on. Right now, it absolutely looks like Carlos Hyde is going to play, and he's going to get a lot of snaps if he does. Looks like Alex Collins got all the touches last week, but I think that's irrelevant with the return of Carlos Hyde and the possible return of Chris Carson. Now, you guys were telling me something just before we went live that, Schefter is saying what about Chris Carson?
Schefter's saying unlikely to play, right? But then, Josh, a couple minutes after his tweet, you saw a beat reporter or someone say differently.
There's a couple of beats who are saying that they're expecting him to go. So, I mean, it's going to be down to a game time. Carroll said it's going to be a game time decision. They're going to see how it goes. I would imagine maybe they have him warm up. But yeah, I don't know. I like Hyde. I like the price tag on Hyde, but Carson's, I mean, he's almost going to be a contrarian play if he does suit up.
It's going to be hard to play Carson, certainly on FanDuel. We were just talking about that at his elevated, borderline ridiculous price tag on FanDuel. I don't even know if it's borderline. It's pretty ridiculous. Like, it's an unplayable salary on FanDuel, I would say. And on DraftKings, I didn't look at the salary. Let's take a look here.
It's not bad.
7,800. Oh, no. Sorry. It's 50. That's not bad. That's very playable in this matchup. Absolutely.
I think, and we talked about Alex Collins, like he went back to the practice squad, so they'd have to activate him again. I think it's possible that we don't even see Alex Collins on the 53 tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, he'll be gone. If Hyde is in there and all of that, he'll be gone. He'll be river dancing. He'll be river dancing away somewhere else. You know about the river dancing with Alex Collins?
That was when he was with the Ravens, right?
He was river dancing to get his footwork together. He'd go to the river dancing. All right.
I heard that's what you do in your free time. You are a dance dad. You're a dance dad.
I am. No, I'm an acting dad. I'm a dance dad. Yeah, I'm a dance dad.
That's right.
And I do the dances. I'm on the TikTok.
Oh, jeez.
I would pay money to see you.
Look me up. It's dadbod 87426 on TikTok. All right. So, yeah, I'm on. I do a dance. I do 80s dances, like the Carlton.
Yeah, I'm in.
I want to do freestyle rap on TikTok. All right, forget all that.
Yeah,
Alex Collins gonna be out. So you mentioned, and we were just talking about some turds. All right, so the number 3 wide receiver for Seattle every now and again comes up with a big game. That's David Moore. I think he's got to be a candidate. 61% market snap count last week. Seems to catch a long touchdown every once in a while, especially on a showdown slate where he can break it open. So you got to get a little interest in.
He actually has the same amount of receptions as DK Metcalf inside the 10-yard line.
He's a touchdown scorer.
He's a red zone threat.
He's got as many touchdowns as DeAndre Hopkins too. He's got 4.
I mean, he's more. I played more in cash 2 weeks ago on the main slate, so I'm a big David Moore guy.
That was a good play though. He did smash. Now you mentioned offline, and the rotating thing with the tight end position that the Seahawks do is just mind-boggling. 1 week it's Hollister, 1 week it's Disley, and 1 week it's Olsen. You never know who's going to be. None of them get a lot of targets. But last week it was Olsen on the field for 72% of the snaps, 11% target count, super, super cheap. He's borderline min salary. Bobby, we're just talking about FanDuel, where you need like a Greg Olsen in order to squeeze the 2 quarterbacks and a stud player into your lineup. So Greg Olsen, definitely a live turd. Not somebody who I'm expecting much, but he could absolutely accidentally catch a touchdown, get your 10 fantasy points, and be the guy. Like that could happen with a Greg Olsen. Of course, Jacob Hollister and Will Disley, any one of them could pop. Any one of them out of nowhere. Rounding out the Seattle team grouping, we have Freddie Swain, who seems to sort of mix in with David Moore for that either 3rd or 4th wide receiver spot for the team. Hasn't done anything all year, but actually, this is really interesting. Last week, he got an 11% target share. So, he got a couple, 3-4 targets. Not bad. 3. Probably 3.
I mean, they like another guy who can, take the top off the defense. He runs the deep route. Like, he's interesting for sure, I think.
Yeah, somebody's asking about did you min percent any guys, and do you use the min percent function on the domination station? I don't recall that you did, Bobby. Nope. I don't use it at all. I will raise a projection. I'd rather use the max limit than the min percentage.
Only for captains, yeah. Never or rarely for flex.
There you go. You want to raise that projection up and then use max limits, not forced min. Forced min is for captain, not for flex.
Yep.
And I would say, Bobby, I would assume you fully control your captain spot using forced min exposures. Like, you're not just leaving that to chance, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's a big mistake people make. They think that you just click button, print money. That's not how it works. You're deciding when you're using these tools who to put in the captain and exactly what percentage to use them. And if you choose not to, that's on you. That's not anybody's fault but your own. You should never, you shouldn't be controlled at the captain position by the projections. So Freddie Swain and Travis Homer round out the Seattle crew. So first thing that comes off mine, and we'll jump over to the DraftKings breakdown real quick here, but the first thing that jumps off to me is there's not that many kind of really shit plays on this slate that we want to mess with. You mentioned Greg Olsen. I think somebody we talked about maybe Andy Isabella could break free for a big touchdown. Maybe you get Dan Arnold with a couple targets for cheap. But for the most part, the names in this game are the names that we know. We love these teams. So many points. If this was on the main slate, you're all over it. Your entire build is going to be around this game. And as a matter of fact, on the Thursday to Monday, I think you play it, and you do play. Unlike the past, you do play this game. You don't fade this one. This is a play the Thursday game and play it. So let's jump over to the breakdown sheet here. And Josh, you have some notes here. You want to explain kind of what you were talking about?
Yeah.
Here.
So it's really difficult, right? Like, we know that Kyler and Wilson are going to be the studs here, right? Like, but it's almost impossible to build lineups and get both of them in and have any sort of semblance of like, hey, there's upside on the rest of your lineup, right? So what I'm doing is that I'm going to try to get Wilson and Murray in almost 100% of my lineups, but it's going to be entirely in the flex. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to hit on, the Christian Kirks, the Chase, the Kenyon Drakes, Carlos Hyde, David Moore, some of these lower priced guys who are still involved in the offense in pretty significant ways as my captains. That allows me to have the salary to throw in. Now I can get Murray, Hopkins, and Watson in a lineup if I have Carlos Hyde as my captain, right? And obviously some things have to go right. But at the end of the day, you're talking what's about building lineups that have the most potential points, right? So is there a big difference between getting 50 from Murray in the captain and 33 in the flex, right? So can you find those 17 points somewhere else by moving things around? And that's how I'm looking at it this week. it could be completely wrong. We've seen it work like this in the past. I in my head, I go back to about 2 years ago when it was a Thursday night game. Maybe it was Monday night, but it was New England KC in KC, 43-40, and it was the first time that we had a kicker captain, and everybody was like, "What the?" And it made sense, right? Bucker was the captain. He kicked 4 field goals. He had 18 points, which isn't crazy, right? But the salary that you saved by playing him there let you get Mahomes and Tyreek and Tom Brady, and I think that's kind of what we're going to see here tomorrow too.
Very, very, very possible. And I'll just show it on screen here.
Yeah.
To illustrate your point, the minute you play Murray and Russ in a lineup together, you're already down to 4K, and there's just not that many playable options, in this range. I mean, you're talking about multiple Freddie Swains and Andy Isabellas and Dan Arnold's just to try to squeeze in one more mildly acceptable, player. You got to go Isabella, Arnold, David Moore to get like a second kind of decent to studly guy in here, and you can't even get to Hopkins or Metcalf. So that's problematic.
Yeah, you're really banking on 2 or 3 turds being, pretty good, right? So yeah, for me, and basically when I start to build lineups when I start to build lineups, when I start to build my sheet, what I'll do is I'll go in the DS and I'll just basically run it dry, right? And see what it's giving me. And then I'll run in, I'll lock in Murray. Let's see 50 lineups with Murray, and what does it look like? And maybe me want to throw up a little. Like, it probably looks like
what I've got on screen right here.
Right?
Tons of Dan Arnold, tons of David Moore, tons of Greg Olsen, and tons of guys that you really don't want to play. So let's talk about, and let's all three of us kind of talk about potential players that we could throw in the captain. Again, I think the obvious plays are the most difficult ones to squeeze in there because it just doesn't work. With Russell, to me, Murray is number 1, and then Russell Wilson number 2. Period. And I love Kyler Murray always in every slate and all of that.
And even as you go down, like I think you could get like a Hopkins, a Metcalf, and a Lockett in there, but you're sacrificing one of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, which is fine, by the way. I don't mind.
You can do. Absolutely.
There was absolutely a slate earlier this season where it was the Chiefs that smashed, but you didn't have Mahomes in there because you couldn't get Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and like a third guy and Mahomes in there. It just didn't work. So
I think it's more likely that happens with, like, let's say like Metcalf is your captain and you don't have Wilson in the lineup. I think that Murray's rushing floor is just so high that he's gonna be in it, like, right? Unless he gets hurt.
Murray is going to be in the nuts. I will have, not the nuts. He will score a lot of points.
Yeah.
Is there some construction that might happen and some thing that might go on during this game where he didn't make the nuts? Yes, but I think I'll have him 100% to be good. I don't think I want to fade that in any stretch. So let's take a look at some possible. You love Christian Kirk, and I totally agree. Christian Kirk in a great spot. He's priced a little bit better, opens up a little bit, 7,400 core play. Obviously Seattle is the team we want to attack with passing games, which is why it's so sexy to play, not just Christian Kirk, but I'll even go like to the Andy Isabella, 4th wide receiver kind of situation. But of course, Hopkins and Kirk really, really stand out. Chris Carson looks like he's on track to play. We'll see.
We'll see.
If Chris Carson doesn't play, we just can kind of shift this right over to Carlos Hyde. And I would leave in Carlos Hyde anyway, because Chris Carson could play and get hurt on the first play. He's coming off of an injury. We don't know. Bobby, you were saying before, Chris Carson's just crazy high priced on FanDuel to the point where you borderline can't even play him.
He is. And especially, we're talking about these quarterback studs and, guys like Chris Carson, you can make the argument that he is somewhat positively correlated with Russ, not enough for me to want to try and jam him in with Russ, but even like, you got like Kenyon Drake too, with Kyler Murray, you're not going to want to jam these two main running backs with their quarterback on this slate. It's just, I don't know. That's not the approach that I'll be taking. Drake
to me, not to say that they both can. The problem is the showdowns, 2 players can end up uncorrelated, but in the winning lineup together, just because that's how it goes. It's a showdown. That's how it goes. But yeah, Kenyon Drake, if he's scoring a touchdown, that is legitimately a touchdown that Kyler Murray didn't throw or run for. It's just that simple. Like every Drake touchdown is a net negative to Kyler because Kyler, part of his charm is that he'll run that ball in. He'll take it and keep it. They don't like to run for touchdowns on the Cardinals, and that's part of the superpower of Kyler Murray's fantasy scoring capabilities.
I think Drake is really interesting, right? Like, because we're talking here, like we're going to play 100% Murray, right? And so is everybody else. Well, if we're playing Murray because we're targeting his rushing upside in the passing game. Like, it's possible. Like, what if Kenyon Drake scores 2 touchdowns, like, and Murray only throws 1? Like, there's a scenario where, like, I think that we're going to see somebody solo bank the Millie tonight, like, or tomorrow night. Like, I think that's what's going to happen because I think we're going to see something weird happen and it's not going to go as according to plan.
This one is so, I think it's always something to build for. I mean, what's your take on that, Bobby? Like, do you plan for the scenario where, like, all right, Kenyon Drake actually runs for 2 touchdowns. Kyler Murray still has a decent game, but he only puts up 22 fantasy points. He doesn't get the touchdowns. And let's say the Cardinals kind of dominate defensively. And, oh, my God, it was Kenyon Drake the whole time.
I think it's absolutely a situation to plan around if you're running 150 lineups. I would tend to lean more toward taking a shot on a guy like Chase Edmonds or Carlos Hyde, even if Carson plays, just because, I still think with the rushing upside of Russ and Kyler that they're going to be the guys scoring. Is it possible that they get down to the 2 or 3 yard line on a big pass play a couple times and Drake pounds it in? Sure, it is. So, definitely something worth exploring, but I don't know. I'd rather take some contrarian shots on the other 2 running backs because I do think Drake's still going to be relatively highly owned.
Interesting. Yeah, and he is coming up
like 20% in the flex. I think in the captain, you can, with a lot of these guys, like, right, you're dropping down, you only need to get 5-6%. You're 2x, 3x the field in some of these cases. And that to me is intriguing, right?
It definitely is. I would say this just to add with Drake, we've kind of seen this snap count gap shrink with him and Edmonds. And he had another crazy costly fumble, well, almost costly last week. And, I don't know. I just don't think the trust is there for Drake. I don't think they're going to, he's going to totally outsnap Edmonds by any means. So I don't know.
At this point, there is no question that Edmonds is the more valuable fantasy asset for 2 reasons. Number one, if you look at the snap count, it's at about a 50-50. We're not talking about, Drake out snapping him. It's about 50-50. And
I can't remember. Sorry, go ahead, Geek.
Well, I was going to say Edmonds is the passing game guy. So, yeah, the chance of Edmonds taking a screen pass to the house is a lot greater than, Kyler choosing on the quarterback option handoff on the 3 yard line to actually hand it to Drake. He does not do that.
I wrote my notes too that, like, and I wrote this morning, and Kenyon was still questionable. We knew he was going to play, but, like, Edmonds is a better player when Kenyon Drake is in the game. When he's been the guy, like, they just don't use him properly. He's not going to be an every down sort of back. So I actually think that, yeah, Drake being in the game and running for 2 yards every time because he's dust, like, I think that benefits Edmonds actually.
I can't remember. Was there a game yet where a team has had to or has been able to compete with the Cardinals in like a shootout type of contest? Or has it either been, close and relatively low scoring? It was that game, right?
Yeah, where the Cardinals came way back. Like, I thought the Seahawks had it wrapped and went to Metamore Cup and it was
Edmonds
over.
did put up 21 points.
That was the game where Edmonds had 7 receptions.
Yeah.
So, like, this is the kind of thing that's super important to pay attention to. With the game total as high as it is, we know that the Cardinals are likely, the Seahawks and the Cardinals are going to be scoring, and they're going to be throwing the football. So I do look for Edmonds to have, a little bit better than average game than most weeks in this style.
It comes down to, again, you have to, like, tell the story, right? Like, if you think that they're going to get up and maybe if Drake scores early, like, then maybe he's the guy. But, like, in this shootout scenario, right, we want more Edmonds.
Edmonds, very cheap. Now look at the difference in price. So Edmonds is a little bit cheaper on DraftKings here, coming in at $5,600 compared to Drake at $60. Both are very bargain priced overall, but Edmonds for a pass catcher, I love the idea
Yep.
of using him as your captain. Potentially, he's got a nice floor, and again, now you've got that 8K number over there. You could throw in one of these kickers or anybody sort of cheap, and next thing you know, you could start to afford your Kylers, your Russells, your DeAndres. Well, even that's tricky.
No, it's hard. It's hard to build that.
Well, I mean, you got to make a choice. It's going to be difficult to fit all these things, right? Who are the sexy plays? The guys we want a lot of. We want Hopkins, Metcalf, Lockett. We want all these pass catchers, right? Can't fit them. So in our cash game, we don't care. In our cash game, it's like, listen, what am I going to do? I want to try to get everybody in. I'll put a kicker in the captain spot, like something cheap maybe in the captain spot, like one of these guys here. Where are my kickers? Where are my kickers at? Who's the better kicker? We'll give it to Zane.
Pretty good.
Wait, is Zane the one with the glasses?
No, who was that? We were Rodrigo
Blankenship.
Rodrigo, yeah, different guy.
Different guy.
So
I kind of like Hyde too as a potential cash captain if Carson's out.
Yeah, if Carson's out for sure. I mean, you always want the running back from the Seahawks. They're going to lean on the run at least somewhat most of the time. You could squeeze Chase Edmonds in there, and you got Christian Kirk. Kind of have some semblance of lineup. But that's, the other way to go, by the way, would be super punt this away, take the 0. I don't love doing that, but it's kind of a take the 0 approach where you kind of put in like a Dan Arnold, and maybe you can get all the way up to another stud like that. So couple of different ways to build what kind of is a cashy lineup. I don't love the 0 here, but it's one way to go. So anyway, other captain. So for captains, if we're avoiding the 2 top guys, I think you have to also scroll through your Tyler Lockett's and your DK of the world. I don't love that they're not that much cheaper than the quarterbacks.
Right. Like try to build with DK.
No, it's really tough because again, you can't do it and also fit Murray and Wilson. So let's say you play DK. Get Kyler in there, put Russ, you're done. 3K again. I got to put a turd in, a 0 basically. The problem is all these guys are zeros, right? If you look at these numbers, they're 0 for a reason. So you've got to go all the way up to let's say
DJ Dallas should get some run. You could play him at $600.
It's a brutal play, but all right, it's probably a 0. So that's the problem. And even with the 0 in here,
you don't feel good about it, right?
We got to get Zane and basically David. I mean, it looks pretty bad.
No, it's terrible.
And that's with a 0. So in the end of the day, if you do any of this, you will not be able to afford both Kyler and Russ. That's what if you take out Kyler, and again, this is a math game, guys. So if you don't like looking at this math, you probably don't like DFS, but this is a math game. We're trying to, Tetris together the most upside in the lineup. And sure, we think Murray is going to be the highest individual scorer on the slate. Probably. But that's not an absolute stone lead pipe lock that it means he'll be in the winning lineup because so many other players can have a big game. Get Chase Edmonds in here. I mean, Carlos Hyde, 6,100. I mean, you can't do anything here. So it's very, very tricky to pull this off. There, you didn't even get there. See, even with Zane. So you got to go all the way down to Greg Olsen, and then you can maybe upgrade this to. It's a tough one.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. But based on this math, based on these numbers, it does look to me like you're going to have to play a cheaper guy at captain on DraftKings to squeeze all this goodness together. And you just got to guess right. It's not going to take. So if you can get a 19 out of David Moore, if you can get an 18 out of Zane Gonzalez, if you can get a 16 out of Greg Olsen or man, I can't even.
You're looking for that mid-teen sort of score to be in your captain spot.
But cheap, but yes. And we've seen the kickers do it in these crazy high scoring games. So wow, if that actually happens, and we talked about it.
Super smart.
Bobby, let's jump over to FanDuel to sort of take a look at some of the differences. Obviously on FanDuel, we're very much more focused on getting the highest scoring player in the MVP spot. And, in this format, there's very, very few paths that don't have Kyler Murray as that guy. Let me see what you put down. All right, so you've got core Kyler Murray. You've got core Russell Wilson. I mean, even your contrarian mind, is there, like, who are the alternatives?
You almost have to get different elsewhere. I love this slate on FanDuel for cash. I think this might be the most winnable cash slate of all time, or at least of this year, I should say. But yeah, I mean, Chase Edmonds might be my favorite contrarian play. And I mean, he's got what, like maybe a 1% chance of outscoring Russ or Kyler, if that. Maybe hard. A Kirk, maybe a Hyde, again, in the scenario Josh pointed out, but
it's hard.
You almost got to jam those.
I can see, Bobby, as you're putting your sheet together, you're just reaching.
like I need to put somebody else here.
It hurt me so bad. I hate having 5 stars in the captain or MVP spot, but that's how it plays out this week.
Tyler Lockett had the 50-point game where he would have wound up as the nuts guy. So, I think DK Metcalf has that level of upside where he can be the nuts guy. And in a weird game where Kenyon Drake scores a couple times and Edmonds scores once and Kyler Murray only puts up 25 and Russell doesn't quite, there is like a crazy wackadoodle scenario that puts one of these wide receivers there, but it's going to take a few different things to happen for that to go down. And I think if you're building that lineup, you want to build for that scenario. So you want to be like, all right, I've got DK Metcalf. That means DK Metcalf's like literally scoring 35 FanDuel points.
Without PPR, right? I think, when I first look at a slate like this, the first thing that goes through my head is how can we get different elsewhere? How can we make our lineups look different, even with, probably a 40% owned Russ at captain or 30% and a 30 to 40% Kyler owned? Geek, I think you mentioned one of the ways, and that's maybe this is a week where you go double running back. Maybe you've got
ownership. By the way, I'm seeing ownership projections. I don't know if these were
here. There they are.
Even 5 minutes ago, they just popped in. So we can actually, and I'll pop over to DraftKings. Let's see if we have it. But if you're looking at the ownership projections, here we go. They just popped up. 43% Murray, 40% Russ. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
And the flex.
Actually, I think it's too low. MVP, 26% Russ, 31% Kyler.
I think that's too low.
It'll be higher.
It's way too low. I don't know what it will be, but it should be higher. This makes me just want to go all in on Kyler. The problem is, here's another little trick for this. For those of you who like to MME, and Bobby, you're an MMEer, Josh, you're an MMEer. I don't think I want to make 150 lineups for this because the chance of a tie for first is exceedingly high. And when you tie for first, a lot of times if it's a giant tie, you lose money. So I think maybe we want to limit our mass multi-entry here to like 50 or 60 lineups. I mean, if it's the quarter, I don't care. But if you're doing the 9, maybe I don't want to go because if it's a 300-way tie for first place,
you're not winning your money back.
No, and it's so obvious to play Kyler or Russ. The only way you're really going to win is if you play fucking Chris Carson and he goes off. And when has Chris Carson ever outscored Kyler Murray? That happens once ever? I don't.
Never you're going to have to be really conscious on FanDuel if you're playing GPP about the salary that you spend. I think there are ways to be unique in situations where you're spending significantly less than the max. Like maybe you have, Russ as your MVP, Kyler in there as a flex. Maybe you think Greg Olsen's going to catch a touchdown, Edmonds catches a touchdown, and, Swain catches a touchdown. He catches a 90-yard bomb.
Yeah, and Dan Arnold.
Those are like the situations that you gotta get really crazy this week for GPP. It's definitely doable, but it's a lot more challenging for this game.
Let's really quick show what it looks like when you start a lineup off with Murray and Wilson. Very obvious starting point on DraftKings on FanDuel. You put Murray. Again, Murray is a little bit better than Russell Wilson fantasy scoring wise, and so he gets the nod. And you get him in there. And then what, right? You've got 8K left. So we talked about, who are the super punts that open up some possibilities. You can maybe consider Dan Arnold, hope for a miracle, Greg Olsen or Freddie Swain, a couple of long shots, but I think they're all better than a likely 0.
Right.
I think Greg Olsen's barely my favorite in that price range, but
Yeah, but we like this one, we like that one, but none of them are very good. Let's see, Freddie Swain. I mean, he got 4 targets. You put in Freddie Swain. He's a wide receiver. Maybe Lockett gets hurt in game. He's been hurt anyway. The crazy scenario is Lockett injures himself. DK Metcalf continues to get locked down by Patrick Peterson as he locked him down in the first game. And then all of a sudden it's Freddie Swain and David Moore or Greg Olsen, these other guys, right? So you get that going or something like that. And it feels pretty gross. Or maybe you go with a David Moore. Again, you got 92.50. It's just not that much left. Carlos Hyde, boom, and then you got 10-5, throw some Christian Kirk. I mean, that feels pretty cashy. Is this your cash lineup, Bobbywow? I don't know.
I had Edmonds in mind when I built it. Do you have Edmonds?
Yeah, where's Edmonds? Okay, yeah, 9,500 Edmonds, but you do Edmonds.
But then you end up with, you got to play like Greg Olsen.
You got to play a kicker instead of, no, I think you just play the kicker. Or actually, I kind of like this. I kind of like that.
Yep.
And I really think it's going to come down to cash this week. Is probably going to come down to a lot of, do you have Russell or Kyler there, right? Like,
you think everybody's going to play this lineup in cash?
It's going to be close or something like that.
Or switch from Zane to, Seattle guy.
I think Zane's probably, I like 85.
I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? It's if you have the salary at this point, it doesn't matter. I mean, you play Myers, you play Zane. That might be a 1B
the same price anyway.
Decision that you make, but
right.
There's nothing else you could really do. I wouldn't mind getting Kirk in here, but in order to get Kirk, you have to give up Carlos Hyde. Yep. So in order to get that going, you basically have to super punt down. So
yeah. Thanks, Fanduel.
Somebody's asking about the weather. Wait, this one's in Seattle. Oh yeah, it could be weather in Seattle. I don't know. Metcalf is a must in this game, according to Antoine Murphy. Maybe bounce back game for Metcalf. Tyler a little hurt. Everybody thinks. Listen, the field knows. I want to see what that ownership is. The field knows that Lockett owned this matchup the last time, and Metcalf had a tough time. So let's see what the ownership says. Ownership percentage. It's fucking same, man.
And I'll say this too. Another way to get different is just the fact that wide receivers have more variance than QBs and running backs. So, there is merit in GPP to going way underweight on a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, even though his likelihood of outcomes is that he's going to, perform better, and investing more in a guy like Kirk on FanDuel, who's going to be, 1/3 or, half the ownership at most.
Yeah.
So there's different ways you can get unique.
Absolutely. So a really exciting slate, really exciting game. Not too many super turds to worry about in this one, but unfortunately on DraftKings, we're going to have to get one of them pretty much in every lineup. So I think we close with this. We're going to pay very close attention to Tyler Lockett, make sure that everything's cool there. If it's not, updates. Other thing, if Chris Carson, we're going to pay attention to that situation, because if Chris Carson's playing, he kind of like harms himself. If Chris Carson's in there, I don't want to play Carlos Hyde in that cashy lineup approach that we just showed. I think at that point we switch it up and we do move down to like some Dan Arnold or Greg Olsen level super turd, and then upgrade one of the other spots a little bit and kind of approach it different. If Carlos Hyde is a starter, I think he's absolutely in your lineup. It's that simple. You play him at 8K, 100%, and move on. And then you do the kicker version of that lineup. And I mean, I think we could play the game for weird shit happens scenarios, like Tyler Lockett gets hurt and all of a sudden either David Moore or Freddie Swain get a bigger role and some stuff like that to get uniqueness. I don't know. Bobby, do you have any kind of thoughts of that sort, last minute thoughts for lineup construction?
I'll say one more thing. What I'm, just as interested in with the Carson Hyde thing is who is going to back up Carlos Hyde if Carson's out. Because I think in terms of turd with the highest potential upside, it could come from that running back. Yep. Not only because he's going to, more than likely split carries with Hyde, but because Hyde is almost as likely as Carson to get re-injured. So, it's no guarantee that Hyde finishes the game. And, you have the scenario where this guy's pounding the ball in, once or twice from the 2-yard line. That is your $1 million play. So I'm interested to see who the backup to Hyde will be if Carson is actually ruled out.
That is interesting. And we have to see who's active for this game, because between Alex Collins, DJ Dallas, and Travis Homer, I don't know.
Homer should be out. Sounds like he's going to be out. So we at least eliminated one turd.
All right. So if Homer is out, now you have to pay attention to if DJ Dallas and Alex Collins is in. And I have to say, Bobby, that I think it's going to be Alex Collins just because he got all the snaps last week.
And we should know that fairly early in the day because they'll have to activate him from the practice squad before 5:30.
Is he back on the practice squad, Collins?
Yeah, they put him back on Monday.
So Collins got 50% of the snaps. Dallas only got 9%. Yep. Obviously, they liked Collins, or they felt safer with Collins last week than rushing. Let's see the snaps, 33% to 48%. But they only had DJ Dallas really in spelling Collins last week. So, I mean, Homer played. Homer's hurt now?
Yeah.
Could be out. Well, can you imagine Alex Collins breaks the slate open, does the fucking river dance all over everybody's face?
And I'll tell you what, I'm not saying to go overweight. All right, don't go crazy here. Alex Collins is absurdly, ridiculously, stupidly high priced on FanDuel. He's 10K. No one is going to play him. That doesn't mean go crazy, but no one's going to play him. If he's the backup, I will have 10% of Collins in my lineups at least.
That's crazy. That's a Bobbywow special right there.
It's a special. I'm just saying, it's hard to get different on FanDuel.
All right.
Yeah.
That's one of the options.
Here's my bold call, breaks the slate. Arizona Cardinals defense is in the nuts.
Yikes.
Hey.
All right. I love it.
I like it though.
4 picks,
I like it.
3 fumbles last 2 weeks for Wilson. He's has 13 turnovers this year, leading the league. Like, there is a pick 6 possibility. Like, if they get, let's say they give up 21 points, they lose, but we know Wilson takes sacks. Like, there's a pretty easy path to 10, 12 points here.
Listen, stranger things have happened, and no one is going to play them. And we know that Arizona is very good. So, I mean, Seattle's at home, though. I feel it's a long shot. But, hey, if you're trying to win $1 million.
There's no home field advantage anymore this year, though.
There still is. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Is it bad? I can't get past home and away. I don't get past it. I don't believe it.
I think away teams are actually up this year, aren't they, on the spread?
I feel like it's the piped in noise gets me as gassed up as if there was a real crowd there. Like the refs don't want to hear that booing from the piped in any more than they want it from real people.
Actual booing.
Like, it sounds real. They do a great job with it.
All right, so the next showdown that we're going to break down, the entire defense is in quarantine. So get excited for Sunday night, guys.
Here we go. Sunday night Rona breakdown.
Chiefs, they won't have a defense to play, but it'll be great.
Do we have to wear masks for that showdown? Wear my turds that show? All 3 of us masked up?
I'm not sure how you're going to stop Patrick Mahomes if you don't get to practice all week.
Yeah, no. They're not stopping him without practice. It didn't matter. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Showdown breakdown, where my turds at. If you're watching this free, the rare open to the public showdown breakdown, don't forget to sign up as DFS Army. If you do not want to get in on the goodness, get signed up. There's Bobby, he's here. Josh is here. I'm here. We're all here breaking these games down, playing every single week, looking for different angles. Cuckoo, my boy Cuckoo took down 72K on Monday. Another fucking winner.
Yeah.
For one of these showdowns.
On like 4 lineups.
4 lineups. Handcrafted.
That's insane, man. He's a beast.
When's my turn coming? I want it. All right, get into DFS Army. Sign up as a VIP. Get all our tools. You saw the ownership projections. By the way, DFS Army is worth the price just for the ownership projections. Like, if we did nothing else but gave you ownership projections, that's fully worth the $40 a month. That alone. Oh, wait, we have coaching, we have Slack, we have this, we have every sport covered. All of that bonus.
Every sport.
Just for the fucking ownership projection. That's enough. You get a lot more than that.
It's crazy.
The coaching, Josh's been coaching in his channel. If you're DFS Army subs, man, you got to check out the DFS Up North channel. Learn something. Great stuff.
And there's rumors circulating that we're going to get a Geek rap or dance on the Sunday Night Showdown.
Yeah.
So
that's what I heard.
You don't want to miss that. Trust me.
Put out his TikTok handle, like, so you guys can start following him.
Dadbod 648. Did you see? Did you see what I did after the MMA win? I was like, all right, guys, I never fucking. It's always like I'm always in the main event. I need one of the fighters. It's either the favorite or the underdog. I'm always sitting there, and it's been the other guy like the last 7 times in a row. So I'm like, enough. Here's what happens. If I take this down, I will freestyle, not freestyle. I'm going to go in and karaoke the Get Money Biggie Small song for you guys. Live stream it. And then it happened.
So that's floating around the internet.
I did not publish it. It was like,
oh, come on.
Live stream. It's probably still there because I don't know technology, and I'm sure like Texan knows how to get to it, but I didn't like publish it to where I wanted to make it a public thing. But everybody who's hanging around for the live stream, they saw it, and it is on YouTube somewhere, but you don't want to see that. But next time I'll do an actual freestyle. Like, I need to practice a little bit, but I'll do like an actual like DFS Army, I'll throw some like real shit in there, some freestyle. I haven't done it in 25 years though.
I think if 100 people subscribe between now and Sunday, that video makes its YouTube premiere before the showdown.
Give me 50 subscribers between now and Sunday.
Oh, even better. All right.
It's gonna happen. Can use the code up north if they wanted to. I mean, they don't need to use DFS.
Promo code up north, promo code Bobbywow, whatever you guys want to do. All right. That's it for this one, guys. Good luck tomorrow night. Can't wait to watch this game. Super excited.
Yeah, me too.
Finally, we get an exciting, finally a game where I won't also be watching like The Bachelor on the other TV. Right?
My 3-year-old's really excited. It's the Red Eagles versus the Blue Eagles, so he's pretty pumped about this game. He saw the preview for it.
A lot of birds going.
Everybody's the Eagles. And then the Black Panthers actually do play in the NFL, if you guys weren't aware. That's new.
A lot of birds going. All right. Good luck, everyone. Take care, guys. Appreciate
it.
Guys.
See ya.
Bobby, Geek.
See ya.
Out.